Hello, everyone, and welcome to Just Connect. Come join me today. I am super excited. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips, host of Just Connect, and I'm excited because I have a really cool topic to talk about, and it all stems from just thinking about different events. So if you're in the event space, I hope you come join us today. Whether you are a speaker, maybe a keynote speaker that had to cancel, events or your speaking engagements, or you're booked out like a year, maybe start thinking about different things, as well as maybe you're an event host and you're thinking, what am I going to do? I, want people to still come, and we've booked space, or, we're going to have to cancel because of social distancing. Hopefully you guys are thinking about whether or not you want to attend live events, but I have some really cool guests that I want to share with you today, because I think that you're going to learn a lot. I learned a lot just by talking to them just for a few minutes. So we're going to spend some time today. I hope you guys are coming in today to learn about event space. I am going to say hello to Anthony Santangelo. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. So we will be back right after this, and I'm going to have some really cool guests. So enjoy. Okay, all right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest. I'm going to welcome, let me just put something up here, Andrew White from Food Dog Productions, CEO of Food Dog Productions. And you all have seen her before, Tiffany Brown from Level Up Consulting. And welcome to the show, you guys.
Good.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, I started off just talking about different things that people are thinking about, whether they are attending events, whether they were booked as a speaker, whether they were hosting events. You guys are an exceptional productions team. And I know that because I have attended events that both of you have either produced, spoken at. I'm just really impressed by the production of the whole event itself, and just spending time talking to you both and listening to like your point of view of events. It really got me fired up to have you guys on the show. So I'm really, really glad that you're here. But tell my listeners a little bit more about each of you, and what do you do in your different companies and your organizations. So Andrew, we'll start with you.
Oh, well, hey, thank you again for having us on your show. My name is Andrew White, CEO of Food Dog Productions. Started about 30 years ago with a still camera as a photographer in darkroom. Still camera grew into a video camera. My first productions were lip syncs and video dances, where we stayed up for an entire week, what felt like, recording music videos to VHS so we can play them back and put video screens and music. I can tell you, though, that from that day I was hooked, and I've been in production ever since. And it's been a good time. So over the past 30 years, I've worked under some amazing people, had some incredible leadership and what's the word that I was searching for? Sorry.
Mentors.
Thank you. Mentors.
Yeah.
Yes. Some great mentors. And just in the past few years, very humbled by an opportunity to by my mentors to take over and run with the Food Dog Productions ship. And so that transition happened, and it's been an exciting journey. COVID has made things very interesting, but it's amazing. Production's amazing. And essentially Food Dog Productions, we're an agency of event producers and engineers. And we specialize in delivering experiences and outcomes to those events, so event outcomes. And then from there, clearly our focus these days has been virtual events. So it's taking those years of broadcast experience, live production, and bringing all that together, and now telling a story through virtual events, and then hopefully soon hybrid events as the live event industry starts to come back.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you said that you focus on, the experience, because people can easily maybe use what is at a hotel, or rent a speaker to plug microphones in, and you don't think about the actual experience, because what you're thinking about are all of the different little pieces that you need for a production in order for it to happen, or an event. And when you clarify that it's really the experience that people have, I mean, that's a huge thing. And that's why people hire production teams and as a partner, and things like that.
Exactly
So
right.
I really love that you guys focus on the experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tiffany, what about you? What do you do with Level Up Consulting?
Before I answer that question, and I will in a second, when you talked about having a partner and to do events, you could just show up at a hotel and use their equipment, or you could show up with your own speaker. About 16 years ago, I started doing all these presentations, product presentations. I actually showed up to a hotel with my own speaker and my own little lapel mic, and wanted to do a presentation, and did. But one of the things that, and I'm sure every speaker has done this at one time or another, I walked into the bathroom before my presentation just to, go to the bathroom and check and they had turned on the speaker. And this is what you don't get when you have a production partner, is that they make sure that as soon as they heard my little clicky clacky heels going down the hallway, that somebody would have said,
I would have taken care of you.
No, yep, turn off that mic. So anyway,
yes,
absolutely.
Experience, I'm sure, that you don't want your audience to have.
Yeah. Absolutely not. So Natalie, thank you again for having us on, and in answering your question, Level Up Consulting, people have asked, what do you do? And I said, I think everybody has a superpower. Every individual has a superpower. And I've been told that I am really good at seeing other people's superpower, their gifts, the thing that makes them special, the thing when they're in that power, they feel confident, they feel strong, they're happy. And I want to push people into that, right? I want to recognize what their gift is, and I want to give them an opportunity to level up on that gift. And there are various gifts that we all have, and to be able to assess those things in various solutions, and to be able to offer them suggestions on how to just become more of that. So everything from presentation skills, I am a speaker and I love speaking. And speaking, whether or not you're standing on stage or you're presenting, on camera, I think everybody has an opportunity to level up and up their game in being able to engage their audience, to tell a story, to share a message. So doing that, as well as being able to offer content development and ideas. I've had the blessing and the gift of being in environments where I get to see great stories be told. And I love the fact that I get to be one of those people that comes walking in and to see their business from a totally different perspective, and to be able to offer those suggestions and ideas as part of their content development team. So Level Up, just taking everything up one notch to make you better at all the things that you love doing.
And I agree with what you do too, because you've done it with me, in speaking when I had to be on stage, as well as just a friend, as just being able to see things that I have not seen yet, but you are able to kind of pull it out in a loving way, and really make it so that it's my decision to step up and to level up to where I can potentially be. So I totally can vouch for that. She is really great at what she does. Thinking about events, I know that there are a lot of people that have just questions about, should we do a virtual event? Should we just wait a year and do a live event? From your perspective, what would be just your experiences in event spaces? Why do you think people enjoy live events, and maybe would be some of the drawbacks of why they would think, I don't know if I really want to go into that virtual space yet? So what is so good about these live events?
Tiffany?
Andrew, do you want to take that one?
I can. Live events. I mean, get the entire industry based on people getting together, sharing experiences. This is how, from day one, this is how, business deals are made, and how team building. It's difficult to do it in the virtual world, but those relationships are important in order to move to that next step, that training, that getting things going. Virtual events has its challenges is to deliver that, obviously. But there's good ways to do it, and My apologies. I forgot the first part of the question.
Well, just thinking about live events, I know that people are a little skeptical of saying, hey, you know what, let's just push it out a year from now. But I know that with Food Dog, you guys are specialized in
yes.
virtual events too. So how do you get somebody over that hump of, no, it's okay, you can do these virtual events, but taking that perspective of being in person and having that accessibility to the speakers, to other people that are there, what makes it so important that you really try to take this live event experience and take it into the virtual world? What is it that you can calm people about saying it's okay to walk into that virtual space?
Yeah, okay. It's actually, you'll find that it's quite a surprise on how people are engaged. There's that fear because you've always had the live event in front of you, and it's like, do I pick one or the other? And the reality is you can almost have both. Obviously, as things get more safe and and COVID dies down a little bit, and we get back to live events, we'll get into that both model. But for now, virtual is an investment, not an expense. I think it's extremely important for you and your conference to stay relevant with your customers. It's vital. Even don't wait a year. If you have an event coming up in the next few months, talk to someone, talk to us, talk to someone in regards to your virtual event options, and find out what they can do for you to put something out there. Something is definitely better than nothing right now. And for those that are, your Q1 or late Q4, looking at a hybrid type model, I think, or at least a live model, I think it's very important to include a virtual model as well. What we're finding from the events that we've been doing over the past few months, people are coming back going, wow, not only were they engaged, the amount of information they've collected from it, the fact that it lives beyond the actual event. So you have a couple days of broadcast and training and sponsors and exhibits, and depending on the scope and scale of your event, of these projects, the reality is there is a live component to it. There's a broadcast component to it, but after that, there's this whole other life. People can go back to it. You, a few weeks later, could even have an additional keynote or surprise and drive more and more people back to that event. So it doesn't have to be locked down to a live live event platform of just a few days, and then you go home and you have some follow-up.
Yeah.
I would say though also too, Andrew, the live environment, I think what's really cool about live events is that the energy that you get from other people being in that event, right? Yeah. And the live events are here to stay because and you see that and they're used for so many different purposes. Something as small as just getting a group of people together for a meeting, right? And then you can get bigger to doing an event where products are introduced, where, companies get their whole company together, company meetings, sales meetings. There are so many different ways that you can do a live event. Think of concerts, right? There are just getting people in an area because energy is driven when you get people together. And, those are the types of things that you miss out on when you can't have a live event. But the purpose of the fact that you wanted to have an event doesn't go away, right? And you and I have talked about this a little bit, Natalie. It's just, as we talk about the COVID situation, and the businesses that we see succeed are the ones that aren't going around going, how do we redefine ourselves in this crisis? The businesses that we succeed are the ones that go, we have a purpose. We just need to figure out another way to deliver on that purpose. And so for, people who are looking to do events and get people together, that reason and that purpose doesn't go away. We just need to figure out another way to be able to offer that same value, just in a different platform. And that's where I think, businesses like Food Dog and agency partners that help you to produce these types of things are really valuable because they know how things work in a live event environment, right? They're used to production. They're used to having an agenda, knowing what equipment is needed, how to set up everything so that your audience gets the experience that you want them to achieve, and that the business also achieves an objective that they have set out to produce, right? So, being able to take that live event and make it virtual, but also too, what I thought that Andrew said was really relevant is that virtual stuff is going to go away. Think about life and think, Natalie, you and I have attended so many conferences, and we get on the phone and call up our friends and go, okay, well, who's going to this conference and will we see you there? And invariably we have someone that says, oh, I can't leave my office for a whole week or, be away. I have so many patients that I have, scheduled. I'm so sorry that I can't be there. I really wanted to hear so-and-so speak. And I wanted to see, X manufacturer talk about, their new product. What an incredible way to give people an opportunity to be there live and also virtually for those individuals that can't be there live. I think virtual aspects of events are going to be something that are here to stay.
Yeah.
I think event organizers are going to realize the value of being able to extend and offer, that experience to people who can't physically be there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so companies like Food Dog definitely taking us into the future and showing us, opening our eyes up to opportunities and ways that we can deliver all of that.
Yeah. And I've seen, a lot of, we have got audiology conferences, right? And I've gone to a lot of business conferences, but just thinking about even in an audiology or an industry conference, when you leave, they give you a little CD of all the recorded presentations. And you know how many times that I've gone back and listened to those presentations? 0. So, but now if you gave me a link or if you gave me a flash drive or whatever, but pretty much it's going to be a link now. I mean, nobody carries flash drives around anymore.
Right.
But if you gave me a link and said, hey, for the presentations that you were not able to attend, you can now, because you've attended this is part of your fees or your registration fees, you can go back and listen to some of these different presentations that you missed. And I would much rather watch a video, or there's lots of different things. So I know, Andrew, you had talked about hybrid things, things that I have thought about, which you haven't defined yet, that I want you to talk about is, for people that are thinking they might be hosting an event and it's coming up in maybe 6 months or so, but we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And they've maybe booked out 200 people to come and they don't want to lose those registrations. So, what can people be thinking about right now for their upcoming event to possibly give, whether it's their attendees or their speakers, options? So whether it is, and I'm guessing at this, whether it is, hey, we're going to have some virtual options. So if you're not comfortable coming, even though we're going to host this event, you can actually have the virtual option so that the event host doesn't lose money. But then also thinking of the presentations and the presenters who have done all the work, and then as well as the health and safety and the decisions of people that might not be comfortable of coming, right? So what are some of these different options that you can get people to think about right now, even though you have an event that's live, that's coming up? Yep. These are ways that you can think of to offer virtual options for people.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a great mindset to be in going in, especially in the events in 2020 for right now. The buzz term is hybrid event, and basically what it means is to host your live event. Expect that if you were 1,000 people, that you're probably a few hundred in reality come November, December. So what do you do about the other 700? And maybe the extra 500 that could attend because they don't have to travel or anything else, the additional sponsorships, the ability to live beyond, again, the short, just a few days when, what if you told them that their event would last 6 months, and it opens up options. But what it really means is maybe an on-site team would help you broadcast your plenary sessions, your workshops. You could do all sorts of things. You could have a MC take you through an event experience, so after you're done showing your general session, they can walk you through the exhibit hall live or pre-recorded, and that would help them you're not missing, obviously it's a different experience, but you get that exposure to see what the booths are looking like, the human interactivity that's there. And then your event apps these days, they let you click on a booth, they let you contact someone live. If they're in session, you can communicate one-on-one on a camera. They can do 1 to up to, I think, 10 now live video built into the platforms and interact with the booths. So exhibitors are really liking that. I think it's important that event organizers make sure that their exhibitors, the people that, everybody's paying to be there, but your exhibitors need to know that you're going to have the numbers, right? That you're that you're going to have retention and stay relevant and keep them, a priority. So, and there are different ways to do that. My brain's scrambling and go all the different ways to tell you how to do it. One of the things you mentioned, though, in regards to going back after the conference and the CD and then accessing it, also know that it's not only convenient to click on a link and then just watch it on your laptop later, but you have to understand the virtual events, they're an experience in itself. So it's more than just going back and looking at the one presentation when you're in it. When you're done with it, there are 18, 20, 200 different links where you can click around and find more information. Ability to connect with people well beyond the event that you may missed, either if you attended the live event or just the virtual. But there are different settings that allow you to connect with people that are have similar interests via those virtual events. So
yeah,
I hope I answered that.
Well, and you had also mentioned, so first of all, like what I'm seeing when you explained it to me the first time was really like a video game, or like you're gamifying it, and it's fun, so for people who have events that are in the industry type of events, what I'm used to doing is I go to classes and I listen to speakers. There are some keynotes, there are there's also a big exhibit hall. So like what I'm imagining as this ultimate virtual event would be walking into a virtual exhibit hall and coming up to a booth and clicking on, what I want to learn, whether it's a manufacturer product or maybe it's a presentation that they have. And then I would click onto that presentation, and then I'd be able to watch whatever presentations that manufacturer was giving without having to give up. And it's my time that I'm doing. And then I could take my little like avatar and walk down the exhibit hall. What would be cool is and here, of course, I always have ideas, but what would be cool is like, you could have your colleague with you, and then the two of you are walking down in the exhibit hall, just like exactly what you do at a live event. So I see that some of this virtual space could be actually kind of fun, but then it also gives you a lot more broader aspect of being able to learn when actually at a live event, you are only given a certain amount of time to spend with friends, in classes, in the exhibit hall. And I feel like virtual events could actually bring a lot more time and ability for you to learn a lot more than what you could even as a live event, right?
They really
I would agree. Yeah. And as we go into these types of conferences and conventions and stuff, Natalie, I love how you've imagined like you and me walking down the aisle somewhere and taking a look at these things. I don't know that it's gotten as sophisticated as our little avatars walking, not yet. But it is to be able to take a look at an event map, right? And this is where I've been on both sides of things. But, when as a business, as I take a look at finding real estate, right, I want a big enough real estate so that as attendees come walking in, they see my banners and my space first. It's no different in the virtual space, right? Your sponsors and your businesses can pick the size of their real estate, and they pay for that real estate. And then when you click on that, it opens up that space, and it allows them to be able to see all the sessions that are going on, whether any sessions are going on live, if there are pre-recorded sessions that you can listen to, and then there's also a chat area where, manufacturers representatives or representatives of the business are there ready to chat with you. Hey, Natalie, thanks so much for visiting, our booth. Is there anything that we can answer for you? Have you had a demonstration of our latest product or technology? I mean, it's the same thing as walking into a booth, at a live event, but now you're doing it just in a virtual way. But as you said, there's only a certain amount of time, and we never get to do everything that we want to do at a conference, right? And at the end of it, we're always like, oh, shoot, did you go see so-and-so? Or did you see this product? What a great way at your leisure to be able to click. And what I know about human behavior today is that people like their own personal experience, right? My experience is not going to be the same as your experience, and everybody likes to personalize it a bit. that's what I think these virtual events really gives us as attendees an opportunity to do, is personalize our experience and our journey, right? I get to see all my speakers when I want to see them, not when they're giving it, because I might not be ready and available at that time, but when I want to see it, right? And then I could follow it up with other speakers, and I could create an agenda for myself that makes sense for me and fits into the time blocks that I have. So, it gives us opportunity, both from the business side, right? Because now we get people ebbing and flowing within, and we can even post times to say, hey, come join us. We're going to have a live session at this time, that if people want to join live, they can. Or we have, times, booth times, that so-and-so at this time, we're going to be there. Our representatives are going to be there. Please come join us. We're going to have a virtual happy hour during this time. Learn about some of the things that we could do. Plus, like you said, gamification, which I always love, because, as somebody that worked on that side, I want to know if people are actually remembering the things that I told them. So great opportunities, like Andrew said, in apps, to be able to offer points to attendees that take a little quiz about my product, and for whatever answers you get right, you get point values. And wouldn't it be great to take those points to a marketplace and spend those points on like event mugs and t-shirts and bags and towels? And,
it's a lot of fun.
It is, but what it does is it gives us that engagement aspect that you get at a live environment that people right now are trying to figure out in a virtual space, right?
Yeah,
and companies like
sound so amazing. Like, why wouldn't you plan something virtual? Because I wrote down freedom, experience, increased learning, a better interaction, accessibility, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be standing in an exhibit hall. I have to make sure I pack good shoes, and I've been standing for longer than 10 hours. I mean, and then I have to wait my turn to actually then learn about a product when I could have been in class. I mean, there's just so many different issues that I see that the virtual space can help out with. But I love even you taking it a step further. You're leveling up, and having, the learning, the CEUs, or having points that you can accrue that you can then spend on company things, that actual organization, that company can also have as well. So it instead of just everybody that comes to this booth gets this little ball, this bouncy ball that lights up or something like that, but you have a choice. And so that's really cool to talk about that too. Andrew, I want you to kind of talk about, you had briefly, when we had talked earlier, talked about different ways that you can actually have an event, whether it was managed or produced or do it yourself. So walk us through those steps too, and the difference in doing it yourself or whether it's managed. Like, what is an example of a managed type of event? And then what is an example, obviously, of the produced event? Like, what are the differences?
Sure. So if you're doing it yourself, you are accessing your commercially available cloud-based platforms. So you're talking your Zooms, your BlueJeans, your WebExes, Adobe Connect, and so on. And there's a number of them out there. From there, you go into your managed product, which, if you were to come to us and ask for options, the reality is if you're bringing a group of people together, and especially if it's external facing, and you want let's say the content to be controlled, you don't want to worry about the hiccups that can happen. We've all been a part of meetings. Everybody's muted, not muted, exterior sounds coming in, videos not playing back well, who's control of what mouse, and the examples go on and on and on. So a managed meeting is essentially a production team or production partner. So imagine one or two people taking responsibility for that platform. So call it Zoom. And essentially leaving you the opportunity to moderate, to focus on your attendees, making sure you are completely engaged in the content, driving forward, taking the notes, and you actually being a part of the meeting, as opposed to, is this person in the meeting? They can't connect, while you were supposed to start 5 minutes ago. So that's more of a managed meeting. And then your produced events are a little bit what we talked about in the examples before. These are your larger events, whether it's a hybrid, you've got something coming up, or just, we've canceled the live event and we need to go completely virtual. This is a process. This is a team of people that understand your outcomes, your objectives, and what to put in place in the right tools. So there's usually virtual event platforms, and then video and scripts, and who's speaking on what days, and what exhibitors are involved. And it's just, so there's a lot of detail to it. So from managed is more like taking your internal call to another level up, right? And then from there, your produced events are your more complicated events that require a complete experience. It's not just getting people together for a couple of hours. This is, multi-day, usually, definitely multi-room, workshops, gamification, team building. There's we can gamify team building these days. I think one of the important things to note that you brought up earlier, know that if you're, as far as options, if you are doing an event later this year that's live and you haven't engaged someone to do virtual yet, I would start sooner than later. It's a very busy time right now for anybody producing good virtual events. And second, it'll provide you with a little bit of security in these, I guess the phrase is, uncertain times, when you don't have answers regarding your event is or is not going to happen. By having the virtual event in the background being built as an experience, you have that to fall back on. So if things were to get worse, or you just for any reason decide not to host your event, you don't have to say goodbye. You don't have to say next year. You have something in place, and that would be my best advice moving forward.
Yeah. What's the time frame that, I know that you said if you've got a live event in the future, and I know it probably also depends on the size of your event, but what would be kind of this is a two-part question, but what would be the time frame that people would have to start considering having this? And I want people to understand that even if you're starting to consider a virtual event platform and you still have your live event, it doesn't necessarily mean that work has gone out the door, because you can still offer that virtual part to people who are not able to come. So I want people to understand that.
100%.
So time, and then also cost of hosting a live event versus a virtual. I don't know if there's any way to kind of let people know, walking down that road, what their cost difference is. Live versus virtual, I guess.
Sure. All right. So the first part. To do managed meetings, you could call me tonight and we could set something up for tomorrow. Don't like doing that, but that's how quickly we can pull that together. It's usually the lead time is a couple weeks, and that's mainly because there's a process. There's a pre-work process, there's a rehearse process, there's the broadcast, and then there's post, which is all the analytics and everything from there. So we adhere to that process no matter how small or how large the event is. An actual event, let's just say plenary session, 6 workshops, an exhibit hall for 100 people. Right now, just because it's so busy and the market's so saturated right now, you're probably minimal of 60 days to do it well, maybe 90. To get started, to find out to vet out the scope of work, to get on the same page as far as, again, what the scope of work is, and then actually start to get into the engineering of an event, and then design of the event and what it'll look like and how it'll work. It takes time. This is something that this is not a Zoom meeting. Virtual events is it's programming. It's, if anything, it's a live broadcast. It's television. And it's probably more complicated than the live event for those that are used to putting together live events. In regards to budgets, that's do you want to add? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What I really want you to focus on with budget is the difference between live and virtual, not necessarily like what you charge or whatever, because I want people to know that it's customized also, and you have to work directly, with a production agency like Food Dog, but it's more like how people think about the live versus the virtual difference in cost for them.
Sure.
Before Andrew answers that question as well, I just wanted to comment that part of the process is also, as on my content development side, it's the branding. You don't want your event to look like everybody else's event, right? So there is a lot of creative treatment that goes around, even virtual events that I have seen Andrew and his team at Food Dog really do. And that's an important aspect of it. And that doesn't happen overnight either. And that is also a partnership between the company as well as Food Dog to make sure that they have the look and feel of that event that they're looking for. So, where he stays a lot more on the technical aspects of, do we have the right equipment? Do you have it? Do you want it recorded? When do you want to post it? It's also the look and feel of what that event is supposed to look like, that they also spend a great deal amount of time and care and thoughtfulness on as well. So just wanted to throw that in there for you, Andrew.
Yeah.
And then if
but
you want to
with the tip that I just put too, because Tiffany, you had said that too, that with the creative eye and the branding and the purpose of whether you're running a live or a virtual event, and even if whatever you do, the branding has to come out in the whole entire event. And I put this tip up here because I pulled out what you said earlier, that the message and the content is going to be the same. It's just really shifting in the platform that you're using, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really, true, that when you're looking at shifting from a live event to a virtual event, or using some sort of hybrid or mixing it up, that it really is just the platform and maybe the delivery, right? But everything else about the event itself should be the same.
Absolutely. I would agree.
There are definitely many shared components, and that can lead into the budgeting. If you're budgeting a managed meeting, so having someone manage your cloud-based meetings, that might be an external-facing meeting, anywhere between a couple of thousand to it'll just go up depending on how many days and how many rooms you need, how many do you want it recorded, and those types of options. Lately, we've been seeing them anywhere between 2 and 15,000, but the variance in that price is based on days and number of people. Mm-hmm. And as you get into events, for those that have been doing events for a while in the live space, virtual is not too much different. Where you would go and you would say, I have one room for this many days with this much staging, these many technicians, this type of catering, exhibit hall as far as number of booths. It's very similar in a virtual world. There's a platform fee, and it just depends on how many attendees that you're having, how many days it will run, and then just, of course, the development costs that go in it. So
that's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't think Mary understands, but I think that, I think that's good to know. Because I think that people might get scared that, okay, if we're going virtually, is that going to save me money? That's going to cost me more. And so I was really curious that, live versus virtual, it really is about the same, because of the technology that you're using. Yeah,
there are definitely some cost differences in the larger conferences and it depends on how you're asking the question. So if you're asking me, is traveling 3,000 people out to a central location and host them for a week, will a virtual event save me money? Absolutely it will. Because the hotel costs, food and beverage, everything else, oh my goodness, yes, you'll save so much. The middle guys hanging around, the few hundred people, and trying to wonder, you might want to budget the same to build out a virtual event. So it'll be one or the other. And if you're doing a hybrid event, and again, I stress that it's more of an investment than expense in staying relevant. And I think you will find that you'll be quite surprised on how many additional people will sign on to your event because you chose to do a virtual platform with it, and actually extending your audience even further, because some people just can't travel, and it's not even just a matter of an expense. They just life situations, but they still want to spend the money to learn from you and your organization. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And I think just because, look, virtual events have been around we've been adding event apps to our live events for, 8 years now. And just our force of hand coming into 2020, all of a sudden the industry's flip-flopped and now it's all virtual and live is the option. So I don't know if that answers it. I would expect to spend about the same you would for a large event. Keep your budgets about the same. Dive in with a production partner you trust. They will guide you through it. The more options you want, the more expensive it'll be. That's no different than buying anything in the world. But you're looking at 60 to 90 days. You know, we're
3 months.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of customization though happen, you know, and that's one of the things that I think makes this a little tricky is that there is no, you know, cookie cutter way of doing any of these types of things. And as I've watched Andrew and his team pull together these virtual events, no two are alike. You know, and even going through the process of asking the questions about the type of event that you have, the type of experience that you want to deliver, you know, it's really difficult because some people want, you know, these really elaborate things. And of course, those types of things are going to require, you know, equipment, manpower, time, you know, build outs and things, even down to videos and video editing and even presentation coaching. You know, I know that he is working with someone right now that said, you know, we have over 100 presenters. You know, it's like going to a poster session, Natalie. You know how like when you go to a poster session and everybody's standing at their posters, it's something similar to that. You know, and they have over 100 presenters, and how do we get them ready? And we want all of these recorded, you know, and it's like, these are the types of things so that they could be put up, and then we're going to have judges come by and judge each of these recordings. It can be pretty elaborate. Right. And I've been on the side of even producing events, you know, being in the company going, we need to put this event on. I wouldn't think for a moment to do an event without a really great event agency, event partner, because I will guarantee you that I won't think of everything that I will need. And I think Andrew made a really great point when he said, even with the managed events, you know, wouldn't it be great to participate instead of having to worry about, oh, well, you know, we have to have these breakout rooms and who's taking care of this breakout room. Even in like a Zoom breakout, you need somebody a technician in that breakout room to make sure that everything is working properly and that the conversation is going well. And, you know, then getting everybody back to, you know, the Zoom room to, you know, get back into the content of everything as a large group. You just, as one person or as an organization, you miss out on all of those good experiences with that type of meeting. But then you also have the vulnerability of technical things that could make that experience go really wrong. So, you know, putting that into a trusted partner, I think is so valuable. Just the peace of mind in and of itself is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys got me so pumped up and excited about virtual events, whether I'm part of them as a presenter, whether I'm attending, you know, because I just feel like with social distancing, a lot of people are very comfortable now staying at home. I mean, yes, it was fun. People miss out on live events. I totally get it. I mean, well, Tiffany, I mean, every time we go to a live event, we go do other girl stuff too anyway. So yes, you miss out on that part of the live event. But I think people are getting much more comfortable sitting in their comfortable spot in their home, but still being part of it, still being able to have that accessibility to learn. And it's just exciting to hear the way that you can craft virtual events. And it almost sounds like it's so much better. Like you said, Andrew, now live is the option and it's virtual is the way to go. And it almost, so that's number one. And number two, it's almost like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you, whether you still have a live event, why wouldn't you carve out the virtual part of it as well for a better reach, you know, for people who are not as comfortable or cannot travel? Just having that option, I think people love options. And so, you know, walking people who are watching this, whether it's live or on the replay, you know, walking us through different options and getting us really excited about this space, I think is going to be helpful for people to not have the anxiety that, oh my gosh, what am I going to do about my event? Or, oh my gosh, am I going to cancel that flight? Or, you know, there's so many unknowns for all of us right now. And I think one of the known things is set up your virtual platform so that you can continue to have something solid no matter what happens around you. And I think that's really exciting to hear. Yeah.
I think the number one tip is, you know, consult a partner, consult an agency. You know, I know that it costs you nothing to pick up the phone and call Andrew, or to send him an email right now to say, hey, what are the possibilities of? It costs you nothing to do that. And I know that he is very generous with his time, because we're all in a space of not really knowing. And education is really important and key. And he has spent numerous hours just educating, talking to people and letting them know, you know, hey, this can happen. You can do this. These are your best options, you know, and guiding them in a way that would really help them to just see their way through all of this. And I think that in and of itself is valuable. So it only starts with one conversation. Ask the question, you know, can we do this? Is it possible? What are your thoughts? Cost you nothing to do that. So that would be the biggest takeaway for me in all of this, is engage in that conversation, see what's possible, and then figure out what your next steps are from there.
Yep, I agree. So his website is listed in this show right here. We will put it in the comments as well. He's on Facebook, Instagram. You know, Level Up Consulting is now part of Food Dog. So if you want to get a hold of Andrew or of Tiffany, you know, reach out to Food Dog and you will get a hold of either one of them. And put something in the comments as well if you're watching this on the replay. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can also put it in the comments. But go to the website and find out for yourself. And like Tiffany said, just have that conversation, because you never know what can be done and what can happen. Man, I'm just super excited, because at some point when I run my own events, I'm definitely going to hire a productions team, because it's one of those things that I want to enjoy what it is that either I'm bringing to the table, enjoy the time with the attendees, with the presenters, whatever it is. And I do not want to have to worry about it. And I want it to be beautiful and professional and top notch. And I think both of you represent that. So
you're sweet.
Thank you. So much for being on the show. I hope, you know, if there's anything else, you guys you can have the floor. If there's anything else that you wanted to say before we head on out. Again, people that are watching this, please put it in the comments or reach out to them at the website, www.fooddogproductions.com, and reach out to them and find out what you can do. But yeah, you guys can take the floor if there's anything else that you wanted to say before we head out.
Just to thank you, Natalie. You always do an exceptional job of connecting everyone and also providing resources, right? And not only are you connecting people, but you're offering resources, options, and opportunity. And I think that's what people need right now. You know, we're all a little uncertain. Andrew said uncertain times. We're all a little uncertain. And you do a tremendous job of providing some certainty in the uncertainty. So thank you for everything that you do.
Well said.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Natalie.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to head out, and I will be back next week with an all-new episode of Just Connect. But please reach out if you have any other questions about virtual events or live events to Food Dog Productions and Level Up Consulting with Andrew, and as well as with Tiffany. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Natalie.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.